Councilmember Nazarian, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both, Sarah and Liz. Appreciate you having me.
So, Los Angeles has been through a lot in the last several years. The pandemic, strikes, fires, enormous changes across the entire entertainment industry. We'd love to hear how you're working to revitalize film and TV production in LA, which, of course, is something we care about immensely.
So first of all, I think it's a multiple front attack. This isn't something that we're going to be able to do alone as a city. I'm extremely proud and happy of the steps the governor took in placing $750 million in the state's budget. We already had a tax incentive plan in place. In fact, I worked as a chief of staff to then Assemblymember Paul Krikorian on the first one. I organized many of the studios, many of the labor leaders. We brought it together. It was a tough go, and we were only able to put $100 million initial foot in the door tax credit. This is back in 2009 as part of a budget deal. And it's successively grown since then, and now it's competing with the likes of New York. There are places that are offering no caps and continuous tax credits, and that's what we're up against. Let's not forget also, there's so many other things that have happened. Ease in technology, labor changes. So all of these things have contributed. So I think it's important for the state to do its part, for the city to make it easier to film here, and that's what I'm working on.
Yes, you actually passed a motion at the end of April that you introduced in order to do that. What were some of the elements of that motion?
But then what I've done also is introduce the motion to request all of the departments in the city that have a hand in filming, whether it's Recreation and Parks Department, police, fire, and other departments and agencies, to review how they interface with the film industry, how they interface with our third-party permitting service provider, Film LA, and to figure out how we can best approach making it easier for permitting, for productions to receive their permitting, as well as for it not to be, the permitting process to not be an overwhelming cost for filming and for production.
I'm so curious, why do you think we got to this place where we weren't the number one place people wanted to film? It just seems like we had this in our pocket and we just gave it away. What do you think happened?
Yeah, first of all, things evolve and things change. But the reality also is what I alluded to earlier. When you have technology advancements, in the 30s, 40s, Los Angeles was the only place you can come and do a film shoot because the cameras were on rails. It was expensive to move that infrastructure, right? So we had the monopoly, we had the market. And because we had the market for so long, we benefited from having the talent continuously come here. And develop what is become to be known as Hollywood. So anyone around the world who wants to make it in the entertainment industry comes to Hollywood. So we've benefited from that great allure, but because we've had this benefit, we've had a pouring of continuous talent into the area. But now you have technology advancements making it easier for shooting to take place in other locations. You have, when you shoot in one area for so long, you start establishing laws to protect the neighborhoods and communities. Well, we've done that. We've made it more difficult to film on location especially. And so, some of these changes have made it easier for filming to take place in other locations. And we have to figure out how to evolve, to adapt to these changes, and to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game so that we continue being at least the top place or top desired place of people to want to come here and continue engaging in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I always say when I see filming in my neighborhood and it's a hassle or the street's closed, I just try to say, hey, this is a good thing. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to be
Yep.
glad that something's filming.
Yep.
Yes,
I
exactly.
totally agree. I completely agree. Any work that's being done that's lucrative, that is attracting attention, over time there's many different processes develop around that program in order to protect it. And sometimes those processes make it more cumbersome to get something done. So filming has struggled because of there being, for example, multiple monitors being sent out by the departments and then various departments and then Film LA. Well, if we can look at maybe honing in on how we can do something where there aren't multiple monitors involved. And this is just an example. This is not something that is going to change right away, but this is just an example of a topic. So we need to have the space available to absorb the demand and the need that we have right now.
It's interesting how many elements there are. Like, I know one thing you're working on is curtailing price gouging for crew parking. And I think there's so many things people just wouldn't even consider. Like, you don't even think about the price of crew parking, but that can, really put a strain on things, all these little things that add up.
And especially when not all productions are the same. If you have $1 million production or a $500,000 production, those permits, coupled with the community contributions that need to be made, have a significant cumulative effect of eating up a segment of the budget that may have not been expected.
People don't really understand when you go through a budget, it's thousands of small things. And if you can affect even 100 of those small things, you're actually having a really huge impact on whether a production can be local or not be local.
I've just been fascinated with the entertainment industry. You look at how unique it is, where you're making widgets at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. It's a product that's being made, but the how-to of the production of the product making is what's so interesting. You don't have a factory per se. The factory is the pool of talented individuals who assemble and disassemble to make a certain specific widget. So a group of folks come together, make a widget in one place, and then after a year, 9 months, whatever the timeline is, they disassemble, move on to another location, and assemble yet another widget. Now, sometimes the assemblages happen also overlappingly, and so you have folks working on multiple projects. This is really phenomenal, and this demands that we continue to have that talent pool of people coming to LA and to California. So
Yes.
it's vital that we don't lose that stream of talent that continues coming to Los Angeles.
Yes, the people are the greatest resource, and we have to draw them, which is why we do want to keep the glamour of Hollywood and the fun and the intellectual part of it, and not just be the factory. We also want to
Yes.
have the glamour.
Yes, I have to say, as writers and showrunners and creators, it was hard for us to acknowledge that we are, in fact, just making widgets. But that is really, really true.
We're selling soap.
Yes. It's really good soap, but yeah.
Yeah.
How can we be most effective as citizens during this challenging time, just kind of across the board? What gets through all the noise? Phone calls, petitions, protests? What really makes a difference?
All of the above. All of the above. But I think the most important thing, Sarah, is not to feel helpless. Not to feel that you as an individual can't make a difference. I say this also from a personal perspective and experience. My family fled Iran when I was 8 years old. I didn't see my father for many years. I didn't see my brother. My brother had to flee the country. He was 16. So my mother took him to Cyprus, neighboring Cyprus, where he was in a boarding school for 3 years, and then finally joined us in the U.S. My mother, dropped off my brother, came back, got me out of the country right away. So I came to the U.S. with my mother, not speaking the language, not knowing the cultural norms, and living in Hollywood, in L.A. So you can imagine just
Wow.
the culture shock. I ended up getting into the political and government arena purely by accident. It was an attempt to actually build up a resume to get into a good law school. That's really the truth of it. But then I realized the power of organizing. So it just, one thing continued to another. I started working on campaigns. Then I realized and I started working for a few elected officials, but I realized how important the component of campaigning and organizing is, because that's how you bring the right people to power so that they are more reflective of the values you have. And that takes work, and it's daunting, and there are barriers to entry to that, because there's always stronger moneyed influences that want to continue the status quo. So right now we're dealing with the same situation. We have someone who wants to create a oligarchy, and eventually for him to be the dictator, or for his family to be the dictator. Because at some point he will have no use for the other oligarchs either, once his vision has been financed. And so it's incumbent on all of us to make sure that we're having our voices heard, whether it's, and especially the pool of talent that's here in the entertainment industry. Because you can put, you can bring your imagination to life and give it voice that's necessary and move people and shape the argument. So I think we have a lot going for us. I just want people to know that they can make an individual difference. If this little immigrant boy could, everybody else should be able to. And I think it's just a matter of raising your hand and stepping up, and even when you're not being asked the question, just stepping up regardless.
Well, that is a great call to action. We really appreciate that. And Councilmember Nazarian, we just so appreciate all you're doing to help LA and to help us become, once again, the center of film and TV production. It's so important.